When you purchase a Disney Vacation Club contract, you do have your yearly allotment of points that you'll receive. But these are not the only points you have access to every use year. There are one-time use points available to you, and in this video we will go over all your basic need-to-know information about them and some considerations of why you may or may not use them. Hey, I'm Jacqueline, and I super appreciate that you're here. If you're not already, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can then ring the bell icon to receive a notification whenever I upload new videos. Your interactions with the channel help out so much in the eyes of the YouTube algorithm. That's things like subscribing, liking the video, commenting down below, and sharing with friends. This channel contains a lot of informational Disney Vacation Club content. If you're interested in more DVC topics, please check out some of my other uploads. But somehow, in the history of this channel, we've yet to have a dedicated video talking about one-time use points, so let's get to that today. Put very simply, one-time use points are exactly what they sound like they are. These are additional vacation points available for use, and you use them one time. This is in contrast to the vacation points in your contract, which are replenished every year. One-time use points are not replenished every year. There's no commitment to buying one-time use points ever, but even if you do happen to buy them this year, you definitely don't have to next year if you don't want to. Rates are always subject to change, but currently one-time use points cost $20 per point. In the past decade or so, the price of one-time use points has increased from $15 per point all the way up to $22 a point. And just recently, actually, DVC decreased this from $22 a point down to $20 a point. For me, this was very unexpected, Disney decreasing a price willingly. But obviously very welcome news for all the DVC owners. You do have to call member services to purchase one-time use points. You cannot purchase them online. Once purchased, though, they are loaded into your account and you are able to modify one-time use points online. To be eligible to purchase one-time use points, you do have to be a Disney Vacation Club owner. Now, you can own Disney Vacation Club by purchasing on the resale market or directly through Disney. It doesn't matter. You are all eligible to buy one-time use points. But if you're DVC curious and have rented points, you cannot call and buy one-time use points. It really is only for owners. Naturally, one-time use points do come with some restrictions. First, you can only purchase 24 one-time use points per use year. It doesn't matter if you have a 50-point contract or a 500-point contract. The number of one-time use points you can buy per use year does not scale with your contract. It is anywhere between 1 and 24 per use year. One-time use points can also only be applied at the 7-month booking window. Therefore, this means you cannot use one-time use points for Home Resort Priority. And you can use one-time use points for the Disney Collection and World Collection, but not for the Hotel Exchange. That being said, my advice would be definitely to only be using these for DVC stays. DVC stays are where you are maximizing your value per point. Once you've purchased one-time use points, there are no refunds, there are no returns. That purchase of one-time use points is a very final transaction. If you book a trip using one-time use points and end up needing to cancel that trip, do note that your one-time use points will expire at the end of that use year. And one-time use points cannot be banked, borrowed, or transferred. And if you have any banked points in your account, those will need to be used first before you can apply any one-time use points to a reservation. Another restriction spelled out in the fine print is that the purchase of your one-time use points has to occur at the time you're making the reservation that requires them. And yes, in a pure sense this is true, but also no, it's not that true in that there's a lot of ways to get around this. To purchase one-time use points, you do need to call to make that purchase, and you do need to be making a reservation that requires them. However, in my one experience buying one-time use points, I was allowed to purchase more one-time use points than I needed to make the reservation we were making on the phone right then with member services. Essentially, I had exhausted my points and I needed 3 more to book Beach Club Villas. However, of course, Beach Club Villas wasn't available, so we ended up booking Saratoga Springs. That only needed 2 one-time use points. But I wanted to have enough vacation points in my account in case the Beach Club waitlist came through. So for my ideal trip scenario, I did need the 3 one-time use points, but when I called to buy them with member services, I was making a reservation, but it only needed 2 one-time use points, but that cast member very kindly let us buy the 3 one-time use points anyway. And luckily for me, that waitlist did come through. I did have the points in my account, hooray. Now, this cast member may have made an exception for me. We explained the waitlist plans. We had very clear rationale why we wanted to buy 3 one-time use points instead of only the 2 that we needed to finish out this reservation at Saratoga Springs. All that is to say that your mileage may vary, but certainly for the reservation I was making on the phone at that time, I was allowed to buy more one-time use points than I needed specifically for that reservation. And that scenario really exemplifies this loophole of being able to utilize one-time use points and the waitlist. You will have to call member services to purchase one-time use points to make a reservation for a real night. That is true. However, once you've purchased those one-time use points, you can modify them online. That means you can go online in your account and simply cancel that night. Then you'll have those one-time use points available in your account for a waitlist to come through. Note that this is a bit of a gamble. If your waitlist doesn't come through, those points will expire at the end of the use year. However, I do think it's entirely possible you would be able to shuffle points around. Meaning, I believe it would be possible for you to swap out one-time use points for current use year points on an existing reservation. Then you would still have your current use year points for waitlisting or banking. Now, I've not done this myself, so I'm not entirely sure, but it does seem possible, and I don't think it would break rules. The exception there would be, I don't think you would be allowed to swap out one-time use points for normal points on a reservation that you made for Home Resort Priority. Because again, one-time use points don't apply to Home Resort Priority. And there's absolutely nothing stopping you from calling member services to book a real night and buy one-time use points to book that night and cancel that in advance of your actual 7-month mark. That way, you'd even have those one-time use points in your account available to be used on booking day 7 months in advance. For example, I have a Bay Lake Tower home contract, but let's say that I wanted to book at the Grand Floridian. And let's say I was trying to book a room that was really high in demand, so I knew I would need to be very on top of it at 7 months. For example, the Grand Villa. In this example, let's also pretend that between all of my available points for my contracts, I am short for the reservation I want to make by 20 points. Anything 24 points or less is totally fine. Now, as that 7-month booking mark is getting closer and closer, I'm going to be checking on availability of my desired room. If 1 to 2 days in advance of my 7-month booking window, that room is still available for all the days I want, I probably am going to call member services then to get my one-time use points in advance. To do this, I need to call member services and make a real reservation while buying those one-time use points. For my exact example, I would want to find a single night or maybe 2 nights that equaled 20 total points. Then I'm going to go online, cancel this reservation. And now once it is 8 a.m. Eastern on my 7-month booking day, I have those points in my account ready to go. I've emphasized this in the past, but I think it's worth stressing again because it does tie into the concept of one-time use points. If you are putting yourself on the waitlist, you have to have the available points in your account prior to matching on the waitlist. Now, if you authorize the cast members to borrow from your next use year and you have enough points in your next use year to cover it, then that's fine. But if, like in my example of swapping out Saratoga Springs for Beach Club, you have exhausted your borrowing, then you're going to need points in your account through buying one-time use points. If your waitlist request does match and they could book it for you, but you don't have the points in your account, chances are very, very good they aren't going to call you to see if you want to buy one-time use points. You'll basically just be booted out of the waitlist line. If you will need one-time use points for a waitlist request and you think there's a decent chance that request will come through, I would highly suggest you finagle a way to get those points in your account as soon as you can. Just note that if you're going to do this trick of calling to make a fake reservation, basically just to cancel it to have the one-time use points, you'll want to make sure that that fake reservation is within the same use year as your actual target date. So in terms of this language, yes, you do need to actually book a real night in order to buy one-time use points, but there is a lot of flexibility in how you utilize your one-time use points after that. Additionally, just like all other vacation points, the cancellation policy does apply, and these points can go into your holding account. And much like we saw with borrowing being restricted, the availability of one-time use points could be limited or fully suspended at any given time. To the best of my knowledge, this has not been a problem in the past, and DVC has not limited one-time use points. That being said, they certainly do have the fine print to allow them to do that if the need should arise in the future. Next, why might you buy one-time use points? The most obvious use case is that you just need a handful more points to book your desired vacation. In your mind, better to buy a few more points to get that last night you really want than cut your vacation 1 night short. There definitely are also a contingent of Disney Vacation Club owners who would rather buy one-time use points than borrow that same amount of points. By not borrowing, you are leaving those points in their use year to be used in that use year, or they can be banked. So in that sense, buying one-time use points can give you a little bit more point flexibility for the future. You also don't pay annual dues on one-time use points, which is pretty nice. Yes, of course, overall you are paying for one-time use points, but there isn't that added fee of annual dues like standard vacation points. And frankly, because the way one-time use points are structured, it is way less commitment than a small add-on. If you find consistently that you are 20 points or so short of what you want to do for your vacations every year, you definitely could just get a small add-on contract of even 25 points. But then you are buying another contract, so you've got your initial purchase price and then annual dues every year. Plus it is that whole real estate transaction. One-time use points are just not that complicated. For some folks, they like the simplicity of one-time use points compared to getting another smaller add-on contract. Really, when it comes down to it, if buying some one-time use points lets you get another night at Disney World, or maybe even just upgrade a short vacation to a bigger unit, hey, that might be worth it for you. And at $20 per point with a max of 24 points per use year, that's less than $500 per use year. That's not really that bad when you consider the price of staying on site at a Disney resort. And like I mentioned before, I think one of the biggest upsides is there is absolutely no obligation to ever purchase one-time use points. But historically, it has always been there as an option for you should you want to make use of it. One-time use points are fantastic if you just need a handful more points. That being said, what happens if you need more than those 24 one-time use points per year? Well, here's the thing, it's 24 one-time use points per use year. Do you own multiple contracts with different use years? If so, you have more than one DVC membership. Then you qualify to purchase up to 24 one-time use points per membership per use year. Therefore, if you own multiple contracts with different use years, you can buy more than 24 one-time use points. It will be 24 per contract per use year, but it's still more than 24. For example, I know some folks with 3 different memberships. They have 3 50-point contracts, all with different use years. Now they use 2 of those for themselves to fund their vacations. Then they use the last one to fund short trips for their adult children. So really for their children, they've set aside the 50-point contract, but then also they typically do buy the 24 one-time use points associated with that contract. And if for any reason they don't exhaust points from their other contracts, they can transfer points out from one of those contracts and into the contract that they use to fund their children's vacations. But yeah, they have 3 use years, 3 memberships, so that means they can buy up to 72 one-time use points per year. Now, because it is 3 different use years, 3 different memberships, the typical rules apply. It's not 72 one-time use points on one contract, right? You're splitting it up between the 3, but that's still a ton of additional flexibility. They've basically gone from 150 points a year split up between contracts to 222 points a year split up between 3 contracts if they want to purchase all those one-time use points. Now, if beyond that you still need points, I would suggest you just rent points out on the third-party market. And also, while this is not vacation points, don't forget that Member Services does sometimes have discounted cash rates on rooms. You do have to call to find that out though, but depending on your vacation plans, it might be worth it. I've only purchased one-time use points once, but it was really easy and straightforward. I also love that once you've made the purchase, you can view and modify things online. If you have purchased one-time use points, I would love to hear about your experience. Do you strategize how you use them? Would you rather buy one-time use points than borrow points from your next use year? I welcome all of your insights in the comments down below. I hope this has been helpful. May the rest of your day be magical, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.